Your expected approach time 3-4, approach button 17, the altimeter 2997.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and another DCS situation report. I'm your host, of course, Prickly Hedgehog, and as always, I do hope you're doing very well. This week's newsletter from the Eagle Dynamics team focuses on the spring sale, and as usual, it's a great time to pick up some modules that maybe you were equivocating on and just hadn't decided to buy just yet. There's actually some pretty good prices on quite a few modules right now, including the following, and I'm rounding up here in US dollars. Right now, you can pick up the Apache for $64 and the Mozzie for $48. $49 will get you the Hind, $56 will get you the A10C2 Tank Killer, and here's a good one too right now, $25 will get you the P47D Thunderbolt. $42 right now for the Syrian map, $35 for the Channel map, $25 for the Persian Gulf map, which is a beautiful map. I think it's $22.50 for the Normandy map and $25 for the Nevada map. And as you may know, Tricker loves the Nevada map, and as do I. It's actually a pretty decent map, quite a lot of fun to fly around in. And it doesn't get a lot of ratings because it doesn't have all the sea and all those neat things that you see in some of the other maps, admittedly, but it is still a really cool map and a lot of fun to fly in. Now remember too that the Viper is 30% off and is floating at around $56 there. That will also get you the FA-18, and it's $60 for the Tomcat right now. Now, if you're thinking of the F-18 and the Tomcat, of course, it really is worth considering picking up the Super Carrier as well, which is a great accompaniment to those two aircraft. There's more on the way too with regards to naval ops in the future, so that's another reason to maybe think about that Super Carrier. And what I'm talking about here, of course, is Heatblow's AI version of the A6. Now that will morph at some point into a full fidelity option. We don't know when. We're not sure exactly when either the A6 is going to be released, even as an AI. Stay tuned, but that will be cool to have on the boat as well. So don't overlook the joys of carrier action. There's a lot of cool stuff coming to that portion of the game as we wear on here. Now, the sale, of course, will end on May 22nd. That'll give you enough time to maybe do a couple of trials or test some aircraft out and then go ahead and pull that trigger with that discount, because that's a great way to pick up a lot of stuff and save a little bit of money, including if you already have some miles as well. It's really worth it.
Mexico, this is Pontiac 1. You got two thirsty Tomcats. What do you got? I've got the hard stuff. 400. Pull up, check the oil, and clean the windshield. Over. You got it.
Now, in external news, and on that basis of naval ops, keep your eyes peeled for more information on the release of the Raven 1 Dominant Fury campaign by Baltic Dragon. The Dragon is releasing here a couple of short teasers this week, and they look pretty good, showcasing some of the portions of the campaign's numerous missions. They look pretty awesome. Both clips featured the familiar voice of Jello from the Fighter Pilot podcast. So I'm looking forward to this no end, and we're being told it's going to be released soon. So stay tuned for more on that. It's a pretty exciting addition to the game, and if Raven 1 is anything to go by, this is going to be just as good. Sticking with the naval theme a little longer, you'll notice that ED released some more pics of the soon-to-be released and reworked S3B Viking. Now this, of course, is another AI-only module, but they are working on textures and have completed what they're saying here as main joints, rivets, technical inscriptions, and ID markings. As you can see from these teaser shots, the Viking looks so much better and is going to be a neat aircraft to link up to. Now, in a post on Twitter, people were asking for improved physics for the basket, some of which I believe is pretty tricky to recreate realistically within the limitations of the simulator. However, there was a request to limit the amount of fuel the AI wingman can request, or that the player can request they can take, in order for the Viking to kind of make it back to base after it's, normally been drained. Now, we had a reply from Nineline that this was a good idea and a request would be made to see if that is feasible. Personally, I think this is a fantastic idea, and it came from Twitter user BellGeode, as of course the Viking was not designed to provide large amounts of fuel to empty planes. Rather, it was just designed more to give them a little bit of juice if they were struggling to say, catch a wire from repeated bolters, which can happen, or a quick top-up post-launch from the carrier in order to get a little bit of gas. Now, I'm aware from naval flyers discussing this topic in the past, that was a pretty common practice, basically to keep air-to-air currency, which is of course a diminishing skill, with refueling. And even if technically the aircraft didn't need any gas to fly to destination, etc., it was a good way of keeping up those skills. So either way, any enhancements to refueling is welcome. It's a challenging sport at the best of times. I'm sure many of you are aware of that. But the realism bonus of that kind of thing is really, really cool. So we'll see what eventuates from that request, if it is able to come to fruition, and if there will be any changes to the basket physics, which, of course, as I said, is a pretty tricky thing to do, and I don't know if it's feasible to even do that in a practical way. It's pretty complex number crunching stuff when you're trying to physically recreate pretty complex physics for the computer to recreate. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. Now, helicopters are a thing now in DCS, in case you haven't been paying attention, and the work on various choppers continues. ED explained this week that the friend or foe unit identification will now include realistic limitations that the real operators must contend with before being able to pull the trigger. It's a system that will be applied to both the George AI for the AH-64D and the Petrovich system for the Hind. Now, apparently there will be customizable identification modes that mission creators can use, the most simple of which will allow the AI to instantly know if the target is hostile or friendly. Conversely, in the most sophisticated mode, the identification will be hampered by distance, lighting, angular size, target aspect, and the presence of vehicles in a coalition. Default settings will be tuned according to the mission's F10 map and label settings. This sounds like a delightful layer to the AI tuning, and as described, will benefit campaign and mission designers a lot. It will mean a degree then of delay at least before the AI comes up with a resolution for the object's identification before it can be confirmed. Obviously, the much dreaded possibility of things we see in the real world, such as human error and misidentification, hasn't been discussed or mentioned. And similar to the basket thing that I talked about before, I imagine this is also much harder to factor in to the intention of the programming. Nonetheless, what they're working on here is a very interesting layer, as I said, to flesh out the realism for the AI component of flying with a non-human partner. I think that's a neat addition to the game. Really cool stuff. Again, let me know what your thoughts are. Now, speaking of helicopters, you probably saw today that WAG shot out another development video to do with the Apache, and didn't even put down his ham sandwich to do it either. In this case, we're talking about the position and velocity attitude hold modes. I'll refer you to the video for more details, but essentially you can control the speed of the aircraft and maintain hover without the need for constant collective input until adjustments may be needed again. So check out the video for specifics. Some nice looking Chinooks were in there as well. So worth a look if you're interested in that, and let me know again what your thoughts are on the Apache. Speaking of nice looking things, many people noted in the latest spring flash sale that a certain tornado was present as part of the video. Now, speculation has been rife as to why the traditionally AI asset was featured in the video and whether or not this is going to be a surprise module announcement. Well, with little information and no official announcement from the ED team, or for that matter, a third-party developer, speculation is all we can do right now, but it is a fair question. After watching the video several times, and it's only 43 seconds long, including titles, all of the other aircraft presented appeared to me to be purchasable modules. Again, we have no tangible evidence. of a new module release. And as a video producer myself, sometimes you include footage that was captured that happens to look really cool in that moment. It gets included in the video, and then that sparks questions that you didn't expect. However, we also know that ED is renowned for dropping hints with deliberate intent, and Wags particularly is notorious for this kind of thing, and it's one of the reasons we love his videos so much. It's a nice distraction from some of the learning he's all about in his tutorials or showcase videos. Obviously, if it's true, if there's any possibility of this aircraft being a flyable tornado in the game, it will generate some pretty decent excitement. It's a popular aircraft, even though it doesn't have the air-to-air chops of many of its American counterparts, and it's not comfortable at high altitude since it was designed with the Cold War bombing missions in mind outside of its intercept roles. But we shall see if this snippet evolves into a more concrete evidence in the future, so stay tuned on that. Again, I think it's a very interesting idea. I think it's one that will be well received. I don't think they'll have any trouble selling that model, whoever's producing it, whether it's ED or whether it's a third party, or if this is just an anomaly, well, that's a sad one, and we'll have to wait and see maybe in the future if anybody picks this module up and produces it, because it is a frequently asked for module in the game. I get questions about this every now and again, and we'll have to wait and see what comes of it. Again, let me know what you think, if you would like to see this module in the game, and whether you think that video represented something more than just an AI aircraft. Well, once again, this brings us, sadly, to the end of the show, and I want to thank everyone for tuning in again. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content today, and also comment in the comments section below. If you really want to support the channel, there is another way to do that too, and that is the Super Thanks button, which is now available on the channel. Obviously, there's no obligation to do that whatsoever, but either way, I appreciate your support. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time on the DCS Situation Report.